And I know you explained what the CERT, and you're putting together a team to review, the process when it goes through. What about at the event when you're having people under your guide? Are all of our staff that are going to be there that are making authoritative decisions, are they going to be served as well, equally? Because they're making, they may be able to shut down an event based on what criteria, what certifies them to have the authority?
Through your worship, I believe that we give them the responsibility of facility operations, and whether it's an alcohol-based event or sporting-based event, they are familiar with the rules and regulations that we provided to our user groups, and that's what they're using as an enforcement tool at those events.
But in the policy, it says that you will have the ability, whether it's the director, to be able to have the ability to shut down, or people you assign to it. What certification or what training will they have that they know, and under what authority, I guess? Will it be one of your staff that have the ability to do that? I mean, I guess I'm asking, is there training that's included as well? You're asking everybody that adheres to this policy who is a promoter to go through this. Is our staff going to be as well?
Through your worship, because they're not the actual event operator organizer, they'll be familiar in terms of the rules, regulations, and policies that we've created for the application of that event. They'll be familiar with what to look for in the same way as any other rental, whatever guidelines are being held to. We have facility operators responsible for our arenas that may not necessarily know the rules of hockey or how, referees should act, but they know how the building should be used appropriately, and that's what they'll be using in those terms. So they'll be provided the information, and I think there's never going to be a time where they'll independently make the decision to shut down. That's why we have different levels of communication to review and, correspond with before they can ultimately walk in and say, we're just shutting the event down. I think there would always be that level of communication before something or that step was taken. Thanks.
And I don't know if it was answered, but Councillor Scott asked the question about the locations that are on our property, but we're not under our control, and that's the ag building. How does that work? I mean, do we own that building or not, and does that fall under this policy?
Through your worship, I believe that is owned by the Harrow Fair Board, that building. But this policy is anything that we directly manage and supervise. So things like that, or in the Coan Park Board, we will meet with those committees and give them recommendations for best practice, but it's still, this policy is for any of our facilities that we manage and operate.
So in that case, that facility is owned by them, but is it on our property or not, and does it fall under this policy? Because we're going to get that question.
Through your worship, I believe we own that property, but it would not fall under this policy.
Thank you. Anything further? Yes, but no.
Through your worship, just real quick, Councillor Baker did refer to a special events resource team, which I'm bringing a report next April. This came before that, so it's just a special team that we're starting internally to address some of these issues in terms of insurance, road closures, etc. So a report will come up. I just want to make sure Council is aware that it's not related specifically to municipal alcohol policy, but another administration group.
Okay, anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. J, Infrastructure and Development Report number 14-04, Town of Essex Sewage Lagoons, Habitat Restoration Project Opportunities. Councillor Baker?
I would move the recommendations in Report 1 and 2 and further recommend that Council provide administration direction to move forward on a habitat restoration project with the Colchester Lagoons, based on the reports that are included about any future expansion, and that administration, I guess, work with IRCA and with the Ministry of Natural Resources to selecting what part could be to be reforested. And then I'll speak to it later.
Yeah. Seconder? Councillor Bondi? Okay. Question, Deputy Mayor Malash.
So through you, your worship, is this Doug's report? Chris? Chris. So my concern is that we haven't prepared a master rec plan yet that says what we want to do with the property at the northwest lagoon area. And there may be opportunities to do something with that property other than, I'm not sure of the area that we're talking about that we're going to plant trees on. Is it all of the vacant land that's on North Malden Road? We don't, I didn't see a map with this, so I'm not sure what areas we're talking. Oh, there's a map here, but this is the Colchester South. I don't think there was a map with the lagoons in Essex Center. So I wasn't sure where the trees were going to be planted. I don't know if Mr. Money would be able to give us the details.
Through your worship, I believe in Kevin Money's report, his memo, there were maps that showed. It's further on. There's my report, there's the attachment of my report from last year, and then there's IRCA's report on those projects in particular, and I believe they show, they did show, but, okay. Kevin can speak to it, but at the southwest lagoons, if you want me to go through it, I guess, quickly, there's the 3 lagoon sites. There's the northeast lagoon site in Essex Center, just outside of Essex Center on County Road 8 to the east of the town. There's the southwest lagoons, which is located across Highway 3, Victoria, and then there's the Colchester South Lagoon area, which I've shown in my previous reports. The northeast lagoons is simply whatever is left there that's mowed. The northeast lagoons, there's a section of grass to the east of the lagoons that we are looking at reforesting. The southwest lagoons is the section that is basically from the entrance drive towards the town. So it's not the farmland, and it's not the filled-in lagoon right now. Kevin and I have talked about pursuing grant options with different agencies for the wetland areas and for different things that can be done at the 2 lagoon sites we have right now, as far as bird watching, as far as natural habitats and whatnot. So we're continuing exploring that. The reforestation would be between the lagoons and the highway, right away.
Thank you, that helps. So the lagoons, we're not talking about committing those lagoons at this point in time, though. We're talking about just reforestation on this particular report.
Through your worship, correct. The lagoons themselves have gone through quite a few iterations based on what we've done for, we filled in 1 lagoon, and then we took the sludge from that 1 lagoon and put it into the other 2 lagoons. So the MNR was happy with that at the time when we had discussed those options. The MOE wanted all the sludge out, the MNR wanted the lagoons to stay, so we had fighting agencies at the time. So those lagoons right now, no, are not looking to be touched. No, it's the area that's currently mowed to the east.
Thank you. One question follow up on that. When we had talks with the MTO about the expansion of number 3 highway, through that area, they had talked about perhaps moving number 3 highway more westerly, south and westerly, than the location now. So there's not a chance that the MTO would want that property within a lesser amount than 15 years, or is this not including the area that MTO was contemplating maybe taking from us?
Yeah, through your worship, the MTO is looking to expand that. It's not on their, as we know, it's not on their 5-year plan, so I don't know when that's going to happen. But from the drawings I've seen, the existing right-of-way should be enough to handle the doubling of the highway. They might extend the right-of-way, but it shouldn't impact that. And I think that's just similar to the Colchester lagoons. It's something we'll deal with in the future as it comes. I think we have to proceed with our lands as we see fit right now, and then if that's a hurdle that comes up for the MTO and expansion, then we'll deal with that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. The question was just answered, so thank you.
Okay. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just speak on the motion. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, the impetus of this came back when Lakehurst Beach had requested something to be done with the 12 acres that are in front of their property, which is currently farmed, and the town of Essex owns that property for future expansion of the lagoon. You then went forward and looked at a report, which is attached, that said that, based on this partnership, even if we did need expansion, that there may be more current and modern types of tertiary systems that would not require the full footprint. So if you can speak to that, would we have enough area still to be able to forest in that area and still reserve any requirements in the future?
Through your worship, yes. We originally started discussions, as Councillor Baker noted, last year for the Colchester facility, and as far as the farmland and reforesting that, in the past year, Kevin's come to me and said, do you have any areas for me to reforest? And that's, we kind of put two and two together and augmented the program that way. The issue with the Colchester lagoons, and that's why I left it for discussion, because I want you guys to understand what's at stake or what we're looking to do here. The existing lagoon site is here. So these are the lagoons, and there's a small pumping station and whatnot here. And then the outlet to the lake is here. As noted in the original report, in order to move forward with building a new facility, whether it be because we need more quantity, more likely it's going to be because the MOE is going to come back to us and say, your quality from these lagoons isn't what it should be. It's an antiquated type system. You need to update your system. So that will probably happen sooner than later. We looked at expanding the lagoon system, but the amount of land that's required to do that is too much. So it would more than likely be a package plant, a mechanical plant, similar to what we have across the highway at the Essex Center. That footprint, which is in a figure in one of the reports, takes up much less space than these lagoons. I think if I draw it on here, it's something like that. Where it's going to go exactly, this is the issue. Until we do the VA report, until we get the detailed design, it might fit here. We might look at filling in the lagoon and putting it here. We might need to put it here because of the outlet and because of what's happening. I don't know. And that's really the issue I have, and I want you to understand is, I don't know when it's going to be needed, and I don't know exactly where it's going to be needed. So as long as we understand that, if we're looking to reforest this whole area and know that I may be coming back here sometime in the future, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, and say to you, look, I need to cut out a portion of this, and those trees we planted, and I know it's hard to do, and Kevin's okay with it as well, but in order to expand our infrastructure and do things right, I need to take that back. So that's something I just want council to understand.
Yeah. So, and it's a good point. That's why I wanted to have that discussion. So, and thanks, Kevin. So, IRCA is in favor of that if there had to be any retrofitting of these trees. But you could also do a strategic plan and look at what areas you'd want to reforest in the beginning so that you know that you're covered there. I think the principle here is, as you've seen, the beach residents have asked for a number of years to have something done with that area because it's farmed, it's dusty, and this would be a perfect plan for them. And knowing now that potentially requirements for new types of system wouldn't take the lands that we need, we could move forward on reforesting. And if I may give permission to ask a question to Mr. Money? Sorry. Can I ask my question first?
Sorry, we have a motion on the table. I did it once tonight.
Okay, thanks. Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Sorry.
I can ask
You
him
can
later.
ask it after.
Thank you. Okay, sorry.
Through your worship, again, I think one decision that council's faced with tonight is not just how much to reforest, is if you want to reforest.
Yes.
Right? This is currently farm land, right? We lease it. We get a small amount of revenue in here, but it's something that's generating a farm product. So that's a decision for council to make. It is not just how much they want to reforest, and that's something that we can deal with, but do you actually want to remove this farmland and put trees back? So that's on the table for you guys tonight. As far as delineating an area, it's something Kevin and I can work with. We can look at putting maybe a buffer in and cutting out a small section, but it'd be a guess, really. So, more than likely, we might end up reforesting the whole thing and end up dealing with any hurdles we have to jump through at the time that we have to come back and expand our infrastructure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Bondi?
Thank you. I think that any opportunity we have to reforest an area is an exciting opportunity, especially when we have partners sitting at the table doing a lot of the legwork for us. So I am in favor of looking at reforesting this area, and I think the residents are too. And I hate to say this, it's horrible to say, but with Heinz happening, I feel that there may be some farm area elsewhere. So, and we know we are working to increase the level of tree cover in this area, and I would love to see this come back and it be a forest in the future. So I'm in support.
Any further questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Councillor Baker, you have a question? No, Mr. Money earlier.
Yes, I do.
If you would make a motion that he be allowed to
So, and the question, I guess, is to Mr. Money, when,
Bill.
and
make a motion that he be allowed to speak, okay? And Councillor Bondi supports. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
thank you, now we got through that. In this program, maybe the question is to both you and to Chris, is when this program begins to look at a footprint for reforesting, would you also be able to speak with the residents to have getting some of their concerns, what currently happens there in terms of the dust flow and everything else, maybe have that in consideration? Because part of this would be also for their benefit as well. So would that be something you would look at doing?
Through you, Your Worship, I'd be happy to chat with the administration and the local residents about that issue. Absolutely.
Very much.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks for the program, by the way.
Ready for the question? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Proceed. Oh, we did. Oh, yeah, we did. Right on. Double duty. Okay. Raise your pay. Oh, shouldn't have said that. Okay, Community Services Report Number CS 2014-004. First Defense Martial Arts Lease Renewal for space at 109 or 190 Talbot Street South. Couple of recommendations there. Oh, and bylaw.
Move the recommendation with some questions.
Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Bondi. Councillor Baker.
Yeah, my only question is with regards to one of the conditions in the lease. I just want to make sure, knowing that we've tasked administration to go to market, get a market value for this for potential possibility of sale, how easy can we get out of this? I noticed that there's an automatic renewal on this. Do we have the same option for notice of 90 days? I want to make sure that that's clear. It does say that, but I'm not sure the language is strong enough. It is, if I can find it here, hang on a second.
Page 4, I believe.
Yeah. Under provisions provided that, and it says that the first offense has a, not being in default, they can renew it, and they have an option to renew additional 2-year period at mutually agreed rent upon that. And they have to give 90 days notice. But below that, then it says the corporation shall have the right to cancel the lease agreement at any time during the term of the agreement as a result of declaring the building surplus. Is that strong enough language for us? And is that within 90 days? Is that strong enough, if I can get that? Because we may need to do that.
Through Your Worship, because of that scenario that I did run that by Elvie, and he did say that clause is how that's our escape clause.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. L, Corporate Services Report Number 2014-06, Extension of Contract with the Ontario Provincial Police. Two recommendations in the bylaw, Gene. Councillor Bundy, supported by Councillor Bowman. Questions, Councillor Baker?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, to Donna. While I'm really appreciative of the fact that we're going to be paying a lot less increase this year, how does this work out? You talk about going back to the 2003 funding formula. Did they give us any reason why they're doing that? And we're still getting some increases in some area, but That's what we're on now. So what was the principle before of a $645,000 increase? What funding formula were they using before?
Through you, Your Worship, the 622,000 was based on the 2013 funding formula for other direct operating costs. We were still paying the full cost and increase related to salaries, but we were not paying the increase related to other direct operating costs, which includes vehicle usage, radios, and that sort of thing. So basically, they've just gone back to the formula that we entered into when we entered into our first contract with them.
Well, it's or less. Our PSU amount has been reduced by $7,000.
Through you, Your Worship, that's just an estimate based on prior year's actuals that adjusts every year depending on our actuals.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Correspondence, Essex County Library. Essex County Library Tour, Saturday, March 22nd, 2014. Deputy Mayor Malash. Councillor Vokes. Deputy Mayor Malash.
I'll be on this entire tour if there's anything that you want me to relate to the library board about particular branches of the board, I'll pass it along.
And he knows because he is the chair of the library board. Let it go, Richard. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, through worship, to the chair of the library board. I notice in your tour you'll be stopping in Harrow, obviously, at a certain time, but there's a coffee break in there, and it says Tim Hortons. I'm hoping that you're looking at the brand-new Tim Hortons in Harrow, which will be open this Thursday, by the way, as part of your stop.
I have already suggested the change from Amherstburg to Harrow at the second stop, or the third stop instead of the second stop.
Good. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. B, Cadence Dream and Walk for Life, Saturday, April the 12th, 2014. Councilor Baker? Okay. Supported by Councilor Bowman. Any questions to the motion? I know I can walk to the high school. I don't know if I can walk to the city of Windsor, but I may try it. You'll walk with me? Okay. Okay, good. April the 12th. Walk for Life, it's going to start at 9 o'clock at Holy Name Church here in Essex Center. They're going to the high school, and then they're going to go on the marathon walk. Up number 3 Highway, Manning Road, 46, County Road 46, up to Walker Road, and then right up to Med Hospital. So, yeah. Like Cadence Dream, this would be a dream come true if I was to walk that far. Yeah, more like a nightmare, I think. But anyways, I'm going to attempt it. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. C, Lupus Foundation of Ontario, October's Lupus Awareness Month. They would like us to advocate that. Councillor Bowman, supported by Councillor Scott. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Here. March 26, 2014, Purple Day, Epilepsy Awareness Day. They'd also like us to let the public know that we are declaring that Epilepsy Awareness Day. Councillor Vokes and Councillor Bondi, any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carried. Town of Aurora, introduction municipal recall election legislation.
Move receipt of the resolution and support, and I'll have a comment.
Okay, moved by Councillor Baker with support. Councillor Bowman? Councillor Baker? Question?
Yeah, I just want to point out too that typically I don't just receive these and without looking through it. This is a very important piece of resolution that's being asked by us. And I think later on tonight, our CEO is going to have a report that speaks to some of the, if I can say the word right, draconian measures that the Wynne government is trying to put onto us by trying to be our boss, I guess to say. This particular measure here this is what we need. We need to be able to have our own enforcement measures for conduct and code. So this is a very important piece of resolutions, and I support it strongly. So I'll wait to hear from any comments.
Deputy Mayor Malash, and then Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, through your worship. Agree wholeheartedly that it's about time that there's a piece of legislation that we put in place here in Ontario to cover this off. It should be for Canada, should be worldwide. But we definitely need something here that when a politician acts out of place and loses the faith and the trust of its council and its community, that they should be able to be removed by some kind of means. So I wholeheartedly support this. In the recommendation, though, it only goes again to Taraz Nadashak and Kathleen Wynne as far as the recommendation. I'd like to see it all three party members, leaderships, and as well as AMO again. Thank you.
Councillor Bowman.
I too understand what this motion is trying to do, and I agree that it's not proper what's happening in those areas. But I'm not sure this is the mechanism to use, because it's called recall legislation. Recall legislation really will end up forcing municipality to do or bear the cost of doing this, and it'll be at the call of somebody else. And I'm thinking that's really not what we're looking at doing. So I'm not sure. I don't support this motion. I do realize that there needs to be some legislation put in place that addresses these issues, but I don't think this is the type of legislation we need.
I'm a little hesitant now as to whether I want to vote for this or not. Would what Councillor Bowman has just mentioned, is that administration got any idea of what Bowman has just brought forth to us with regards to a cost?
Do I have an idea? Through your worship, no. It strikes me, though, that this is deep, that there's a lot behind this, that I can appreciate where some council are coming at it at face value or at first blush, but I think as you dig deeper, there's a lot behind this, and particularly the legislation and work that it would take to first recall somebody, and then secondly, the additional costs of going through that process and the litigation involved. And where does that rest? Does that rest with the body of the municipality, or does it rest with members of council? You know, there's a number of things to be wrestled with. So when I read it, and agreed, I'm not voting on this, but when I read it, there wasn't a lot of detail here in which to make a decision. I felt so. I'm not sure where you're coming from, but I personally I agree with what Morley has just finished saying.
Councillor Baker?
Yeah, and I agree that, this resolution is high level at this point, but if you dig in further, there's a lot of, in what's being proposed, there's a lot of mechanisms in here that would take at minimum 25% of those who voted in a particular riding, and you couldn't do it 1 year before an election or 1 year after election. There's a lot of measures in there. I think what it says, though, is that we need to be able to have a mechanism to take control of ourselves as opposed to the province, which they're trying to do now. I'm really tired of them coming down and saying what we can do in terms of our parent. We need to have our own mechanisms for our own code of conduct. So that's really what this says. Certainly, at the end of the day, we have to take a look at the cost. You're right. But what's the cost of doing nothing? How much does that cost us if we allow inappropriate actions as I think other municipalities have seen right now? So I guess you have to look at it in a number of ways.
Deputy Mayor Malash?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I'm not saying that this is perfect, the way it's written at this point in time. I think there's going to be a lot of dialogue yet before something like this is passed. So what I'm trying to represent here as far as voting in favor of this is the fact that I know something's got to be done. It may not be exactly this, but I want to put the word out that I am totally in favor of having something done. It may not be this exactly, but let's get the dialogue rolling.
And Councillor Bowen?
I just point out, it says recall, and recall means one thing and how it is put into place. So recalls always come back as a cost of municipality. And as I said before, I agree that the province has to look at some mechanism of handling these issues. I don't think this is it.
Councillor Bondi.
I'm wondering if we can table this to our next meeting until we have a little bit of time to digest it more and maybe some more formal comments from administration next time.
Yeah, is it a motion? Okay. Support. Need someone to second that? Yeah.
Yes.
Councillor Bowman, support? They can't discuss this, just vote. Okay. Okay, here's the question. All in favor of tabling? No? Her motion is to table Bill's motion. Yeah, right. Oppose? Motion carries. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. F, Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services, Municipal Emergency Management Programs. Yes, yes, we did everything, I guess, correctly in the report, so kudos to Eddie and all his staff. Marty, over to you. Supported by Councillor Scott. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Committee of Adjustment meeting agenda, March the 18th, 2014. Councillor Baker moves, supported by Councillor Bondi. Questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Councillor Bondi, United Way funding after-school programs in Harrow. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, and thank you for your time, Council. And I know it's almost 9 o'clock and we're getting kind of tired, but I feel like there's something I need to bring up and we need to have a discussion here. And I'm not sure what direction that discussion will take, but we need to have it. Over the last 3 years, I've witnessed the struggles that the Harrow daycares had, and it's not caused by one issue, but it's caused by many. And frankly, as a councillor in the Ward 4, I'm worried about the long-term sustainability of our only licensed daycare in Colchester McGregor in Harrow Centre. I feel as a councillor, I must do everything possible to advocate and protect our daycare. In the fall, I had a meeting with the now Executive Director of United Way with Lorraine Goddard, and we had a conversation about duplication of services in Harrow Centre. And what I was told by Lorraine was that the Harrow community needs to rally and express their needs about what type of programming they would like to see from United Way moving forward. We know that we're still in a term of programs with United Way, and the present term goes, I think, from 2010 to 2015. So right now, United Way is collecting information to forecast the needs of the community in future programming. United Way just did a survey. It ended at midnight last night, but the survey didn't ask any open-ended questions. And I did go talk to the daycare a couple weeks ago, the Harrow Daycare, and I sat with their board, and they are going to write letters as well. So the current concern that I have is that we have a United Way partly funded program in Harrow Centre. 23% of the after-school funds for the program come from United Way. Another 39% come from the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport. And then a small portion comes from the town of Essex. And then we have also donations and user fees. So what I see happening, and people will of course disagree with me, but what I see happening as the elected official in that ward is that the free after-school program is providing some level of competition to our subsidized daycare. The subsidized daycare is no longer getting high ratios of latchkey children after school. And if you're in the daycare business, you realize that latchkey children are the bread and butter of the daycare industry. Also, the summer programming where they can have higher ratios of kids, that's the bread and butter too. And that, they can build up their bank accounts and build up the reserves, and that slingshots them through the next year. So we're not getting that in Harrow. In the daycare, the staff are not paid extremely well. They're doing some very interesting things with their job roles, their job sharing, they're cutting corners every way they can. They're holding fundraisers. They are a nonprofit, and they're doing everything they can. And I feel like this council needs to do everything they can to support the licensed daycare as well. Now, when you have a licensed daycare in a community, it means a lot to people that single parents, single fathers, single mothers. It means that these single parents can have access to subsidized quality daycare, which is important. I'm a product of subsidized daycare. I was low income, and I was able to use the Harrow daycare to go to university and to further my education. Had I not had access to subsidized daycare, I might not be sitting here right now. That's why I'm very passionate about this issue. Subsidized daycares also have a lot of, they have to have licensing requirements, so there's, a level of safety there. I'm not saying home daycares are bad, but I'm saying licensed daycares have standards, and it's important to have those standards. Some parents want those standards. We have new families moving into Harrow, and their children, they're scoping out licensed daycares. They might not want a home daycare, so it's important that we have and protect our licensed daycare in the town. So I would really like council to have a discussion, and I would really like us, since United Way is looking for information, and since we are the governing body in the town of Essex, and since I am the ward rep where the daycare exists, I'm begging, kicking and screaming for council to send a letter to United Way saying that, and also I'd like us to send a letter to the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport as well. I am not saying that the after-school program is bad. I'm not. I'm saying that we need to relook at the model. Maybe we should set some parameters on it. Maybe take out the grade 1s and the grade 2s and have the after-school program provided by Access, that was formerly the Youth and Family Resource Network, only enlist and target children ages grade 3 and older. And if they only have capacity for 40 children and they're dropping the grade 1s and the 2s out, and hopefully, and we can't force them to go to the Harrow daycare, but if that's another good option in the community, hopefully the Access After School program can have more of the grade 3s and the grade 4s and the grade 5s. I think as a council, we have the ability to kind of steer the boat and to say, this is the type of programming we would like in the Harrow community. We would like you to go after some of the older children, and hopefully, by lack of another option, the younger children will go to the Harrow daycare. So that's all I'm asking, and most of the people in the room know that the Harrow daycares had struggles, and now they've come to council, and we've had to actually, grant them rent relief. And, that is a Band-Aid. The rent relief is a Band-Aid, and we just keep patching things up and moving on. But we really need to get to the solutions of these, of what's going on. And this is just one solution. Sending letters is just one solution. Bringing in new development, bringing in EnterQuest, bringing in new jobs, that's another solution too. But it's all pieces of the puzzle that need to come together. And I think that if we were to remove Harrow daycare from the Harrow community, I think we'd see a downward spiral. And I'm not sure, I would be willing to have a meeting with United Way, have a meeting with Access. Maybe that's the first step. Maybe the letter is to encourage them to have a meeting, because I think that that's where we need to go. We need to say, this is what's happening in our community. We are the eyes and ears in the community, and then take it from there. So I just want to have a discussion with council, if we may.
Thank you, through your worship. So, Councillor Bondi, in your discussions with United Way early on, had they given you some indication that they have some ability to modify their involvement? Because I know, because they're charged with this program with the schools. And did they suggest that they would be willing to look at some options in terms of moving the age band up a bit so that you could open the door?
When I did talk with Lorraine, she said that United Way has some flexibility in their programming dollars. They can set parameters on those dollars when they give it to agencies. This can only be used for children above age 9. The ministry funding is different, though. The ministry funding, it's not tweakable like the United Way funding.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'm saying. We need to, because we can't move the ministry funding on this program, but the fact that United Way was awarded this program, they get funded through the ministry, but they have some wiggle room as to what they can do. Maybe that's the first step, is that have the task administration have discussion with them to see what options they have available and what their flexibilities are, and then from there, we can maybe garner some support further. Because, I mean, we could certainly send a letter, they could come back and say, well, we don't have any room, we can't do anything. We should know first, I think. Would that be a suggestion?
And I think we also need to keep in mind that United Way is collecting information from communities right now. That's what they do. They collect information, and they're looking for their programming from 2015 to, I think, 2020 for their next round of programming. So if we, in Harrow and Essex, and say, you know what, we would prefer to see a community garden in Harrow Centre, which provides, local healthy food to children. That might, the United Way has paired with other organizations and done programs like this. I'm just not sure, I'm not convinced that the free after-school program is the best program for United Way's dollars in the Harrow Centre community. I know I'm very intimate with United Way's value system, being their ambassador in 2011, and if United Way, their motto is strengthening communities in strengthening youth, and throwing in a duplication service that is actually hurting a subsidized daycare facility, I don't believe that's strengthening a community.
Deputy Mayor Malash?
Thank you, through your worship. I'm not really in agreement with it, because if I have kids that I put through daycare, and now I've put them through, and they're, from the time that they were 0 to 5 years old, and I've got them in school now, and the easiest way for me to have them taken care of is just to leave them at the school, and I'll pick them up at the school when I can. They've got a half an hour or an hour before I can pick them up. And it's free. And now all of a sudden, it's not free sharing? Subsidized though.
There's
Okay,
three
well-
programs in town. You're mixing up the United Way, the Access program, and you're mixing up the Seamless Day School Board program. The Seamless Day School Board program is something we can't touch. But if we help fund the Youth Center program, that's something that we can touch. There's three programs in town. I know it's kind of confusing. But I understand what you're saying. The Seamless Day is a whole separate program. The school board is rolling out a Seamless Day from 6 to 6, right? That's existing. But what we have compounded in Harrow is an additional program. The Seamless Day isn't free, by the way. The Seamless Day you have to pay. The costs are comparable to daycare. What we have in Harrow is another program, no needs analysis. So we have the doctor's kids, the lawyer's kids, the teacher's kids, all going to this free program just because it's free, because why wouldn't they? My kids have been there. It's great. But some families can pay for daycare, and I get that. When I was low income, I had no problem saying, I'm low income, can I have that service? I don't know. So there's three programs though, if that clarifies it anymore.
It does help, but where's the United Way program being done at?
Oddfellows Building. The old library.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? So are you going to make a motion or direction to,
Yes, I would love to send a letter to United Way stating some of those very things that we did, and ask them to come meet with us. I think that's the first step. I don't know. I'm not sure if Doug Sweet has any comments on this. Doug and I have had a couple sidebars on this about duplication of services. I think the council has to keep in mind too that we do fund the youth center to some degree, and we would like to see programs in the Harrow community, and they are doing them, but we would like to see more of the anger management, the kids in the kitchen type program. Those are the programs that we would like to see, and I think what we really need to do is move away from blanket funding to our youth centers, and we need to fund based on a program to our youth centers. But I don't know, Doug, I don't know if you have any thoughts, any more intimate knowledge on this?
Through your worship, no. But in general, I think anytime, especially a smaller community, you want to work together, and I'm not sure the history of those conversations have happened in the past, so that could be a start just to make sure you're working together to get the best of all the programs.
Councillor Baker?
Yeah, I got a recommendation. Why don't we ask administration to come back and provide us with what these programs are? Because while you've provided us very good information, I'd like to see it in a report so we know we have an educated understanding of it. It's from your point of view, but I'd like to see what is out there, and then we can see what options we have. At this point, it's a discussion. It should go to a report so we're clearly educated about the situation in our community. Okay? That's a motion.
I had a motion, but that can be the motion. And then you could second it.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you. Then we get a report from administration.
On the different programs that are in the community, so we understand what those programs are, what our options are.
All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. 10 committee meeting minutes. Communities in Bloom Committee, January 28, 2014. Moved by Councilor Vokes, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Finance Committee, March the 3rd. Councilor Vokes moves, supported by Councilor Scott. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. C, Municipal Heritage Committee, January 23rd, 2014. Councilor Vokes moves, supported by Councilor Bundy. Any questions? Councilor Bowman? No, all in favor? Motion carries. Bylaws, bylaw number 1301 being a bylaw to appoint a weed inspector for the town of Essex for the year 2014. Oh. Danny Boudreau. Councilor Scott, supported by the mayor. Okay, Councilor Bowman. Good. Councilor Baker.
Thank you. So, through your worship, I need to ask, who is going to be appointed as the weed inspector? Can I get that? Danny, I just want to confirm that. I'm a little concerned with the fact that he's been tasked with roads, he has drainage, he has now this. We have and I may ask the question, we're waiting for response on some drainage issues, individual things, and he has suggested he's so very backed up because of the winter, because of the drainage issue. How are we going to address this when we add on another task? Maybe I can maybe look at you to see where there's some options here.
Through your worship, we're currently, after we got through that winter and some of this drainage stuff, we're currently looking at options in the department. So that will help alleviate some of the responsibilities that Mr. Boudreau currently has.
So then I guess my question would be, what would that time frame be? We're tasking him with another operation, and that this season's coming up in the spring. Will this be this season, or do you have a time frame that we'd add or look at some options in the department?
Through your worship, the time frame is sooner than later. So yes, I hope it to be, definitely, yeah.
Passing this bylaw allows you to appoint him, but then you're going to move forward and reconfigure the department? Is that correct?
Through your worship, I don't know if reconfigure is the word I'd use, but look at options within the department, yeah.
Within a department, not hiring, but within a department?
Potentially both, yeah.
Anyone else? I just thought this would be a great appointment. While he's looking at the roads, he can be looking at the weeds at the same time. There aren't any weeds out there right now, so there's, like, he is really busy because of the problems we have with snow, but he doesn't have to worry about the weeds right now. The snow problem will be gone when the weeds come. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Bylaw number 1994 amended, being a bylaw to enter an agreement between the Corporation of the Town of Essex and Heritage Essex, Inc. with respect to the Essex Railway Station. Councilor Bonley, Councilor Vokes, any questions?
Question, sorry, I know, want to go, I do too. What's the amendment? It wasn't identified. I didn't see what the amendment said. Dates of payment, was that it?
Yeah, through your worship, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Okay, bylaw number 1296, being a bylaw to provide for the issue of debentures in the amount of $402,306.06 for works completed for the Erie Road Sanitary Sewer Extension and miscellaneous drain works. Councilor Vokes moves, supported by Councilor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Bylaw number 1300 being a bylaw to repeal bylaw number 1184 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between Town of Essex and Patrick Chittle to act as the town's agent for the advertising on digital signs. Councillor Baker moves, supported by Councillor Scott. Any questions? Question, Councillor Scott?
To Doug, we're repealing this to tender it again, or someone else doing this now? I can't remember.
Through your worship, repealing it because Mr. Chittle's, his lease was up and he's not interested in renewing.
Gotcha.
So we're looking at options right now.
Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Bylaw number 1303 being a bylaw to conform the proceedings of the March 17, 2014 regular meeting of council of the Corporation of the Town of Essex. Councillor Bondi. Supported by Councillor Baker. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Financial January check register. Councillor Vokes moves, supported by Councillor Baker. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. New business, Chief Administrator Officer's Office, report number CAO 2014-02, municipal accountability measures. Thank you. Well, you don't have to. We got the report. We just need to receive it. Councillor Bowman receives, supported by Councillor Scott. Any questions? Now you may have. All in favor? Motion carries. Notice of motion.
No, that's what you said I sent you.
Okay, yeah.
At the beginning of the meeting.
What do you want me to read? You want to read it? Yes. All of that? Wow.
Through your worship, this is a request from the Essex Youth Center. Do you want me to? It's a request from the Essex Youth Center for a letter of support from the town for a grant application for funding from the Royal Bank after-school grants. This needs to be sent electronically by this Thursday, and that's why they're requesting this to be put on as an addendum for council's approval tonight.
Councillor Vokes moves, supported by Councillor Scott. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Now, you had an addition, didn't you?
That's it.
That was it, okay. Randy? Looking, all right. Thank you very much. Supported by Councillor Bowman, all in favor. Motion carried. Have a great evening.